How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to another edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. Today on the pod, we're going to be talking with John Reed. He is a short course professional triathlete from really kind of all over the world, but he's currently finding himself in Santa Fe. Super cool guy. We get to dive into a bunch of really neat stuff. Comes from a military family. Tried to go the military route himself. Decided that professional triathlon was more of the direction that he was being led. So really good conversation. Really excited to jump into it. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to John Reed. Also, really quick before we start, just want to say thank you so much for being here. Make sure to check out the show notes. Sign up for the newsletter if you want to do so. Support the podcast by jumping in and checking out the Stupid Questions socks. If you want to grab those, you can do those there. Again, make sure to check out the show notes. Really appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for subscribing and reviewing and commenting. It really does continue to help to grow the podcast because a lot of the people that listen, I have found out, actually are not subscribed. So thank you for being here. Without further ado, Mr. John Reed. Well, John, thank you so much for jumping on. Where do you find yourself at this moment?
Thank you for having me on. And I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico at the moment.
Nice. What is the elevation of Santa Fe? It's up there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right at like 7,000 feet about.
Okay,
It's a
nice.
pretty solid. I was here last year as well, and yeah, I quite like it. It's a pretty good spot to train. I feel like a little bit undiscovered or doesn't get the attention I think it deserves, which I kind
Yeah.
of like. It's quiet.
Yeah, that's always the conundrum with places like that. And then you go back 10 years later and it's probably going to be blowing up. And then you're like, oh, I
Ex
remember when this road was a 2-lane road. Now it's a 5-lane highway.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So where are you from?
Uh, Kind of like my life now, a bit all over the place.
Yeah.
My dad, growing up, my dad's really still in the Navy. So every 2, 3 years, we kind of bounced around, depending on where he was stationed, but a lot of Virginia Beach, Virginia, and then Camarillo, California, and just pinging back and forth. And then we did a little bit of time in Colorado Springs and a little bit of time in Northern Virginia. Um, so yeah, kind of all over the place. I would probably claim Virginia Beach as home now.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to ask you, like, give me a little of your take on Coast versus West Coast living.
Ooh. Um, they're different, and I think I lived in places where looking back, I was like, oh, it would have been cooler to live here a little later in life. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I really liked the area we lived in. California was beautiful um, and super cool. But, if you're not driving and you're a little bit younger, I don't feel like you can really take full uh, opportunity of the experience it is
Mm-hmm.
there. Um, but I love Virginia Beach. It's yeah, I don't think there's anything like crazy about Virginia Beach, but it's a nice place to be from. Um, I like I like the mountains. I went to school out in Utah,
Mm.
and I've kind of just been obsessed with them since. And um, yeah, East Coast, West Coast, sure, they're both cool, but if I can just stay in the mountains, that's where I like to be.
Yeah. I'm similar. So back in October, my wife and I moved to California from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Hmm.
And it's like, I say Chattanooga, Tennessee. Her family is from northern Tennessee. So it's like the Cumberland Mountains, North Carolina, or not, yeah, some of North Carolina, but like the Tennessee, Kentucky, and then up into your neck of the woods, Virginia. Um, so yeah, it's interesting. The big mountains, though, there's beauty in the mountains of the East Coast, and it's unique in its own way, especially if you get up into like the Adirondacks and stuff. But the West Coast, just like the prominence, is such an amazing feature of. It makes you feel small, and it
100%.
feels good to feel
Yeah,
small.
yeah, you're just constantly in awe, everything is just it's so vast and big. I think it's pretty cool.
Where do you think you would settle? Let's say 15, 20 years from now,
Uh,
if you
if
settle.
Salt Lake can slow down a little bit, I would probably settle there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I really haven't been around Salt Lake for too long. But I mean, every time I go back, it's like, wow, we've added 20 new neighborhoods and whatever. And I have friends that live there that,
Mhm.
have been there their whole lives, and they're like, it's really blown up. Um, Park City would be super ideal. Obviously, a bit more expensive, but um, it's a little quieter up there. and then once again you're kind of even deeper in the mountains, which is pretty cool. But
Yeah. Yeah. How old are you, John?
23. I'll turn 24 later this year though, so
Nice. You feel
that's
like
what.
you're coming into your own in terms of manhood? You figured yourself out yet?
um, yeah, I don't know. I think every year is a little different. I feel like I figure things out a little bit more every year. At the same time, too, every year presents new challenges that you're like, wow, I really have nothing figured out.
Mm.
Um, uh, so I don't know. I think you kind of take the growth and the growing up in swings and um, yeah, grow up when you kind of need to, but at the same time as well enjoy being 23 because
Mm.
I won't be 23 for too much longer. And then, and it's just time flies by.
Yeah.
And I enjoy where I'm at right now. So trying to, uh, yeah, take full advantage of that.
Mm. So you said something a second ago that struck a chord with me. I forget the exact words, even though it was 2 seconds ago. But you were saying this concept of, sometimes you have a circumstance that happens and it necessitates maturing a little faster. For you, growing up as a kid, like, you said your dad was in the Navy, you're moving around a lot. There's, I think, definite positives and negatives to moving around a lot. I was similar, not because of the military, but more because of the personalities of my parents. I think my dad really struggled to find a place that he fit. So we moved a good bit around the East Coast. And, on one hand, that really helped us, I think, to be able to get to know other kids better, make friends a little faster. But for you, like, what were some of those positives and negatives that you notice in yourself that have kind of matured into today's personality that is John?
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. I think I have a lot of siblings, and I think you could ask every single one of them, and we would all have different takes on being a military kid and different takes on what we thought of moving around and what we thought of making new friends. Yeah, as I think I've gotten older, and I never really had too much of an issue. It was always challenging in the moment when you have to leave friends and leave your home and start new. But um, yeah, I think I really always viewed it as a pretty fun adventure, and it was always something I almost looked forward to. And then looking back on it now, uh, it's been pretty advantageous for what I do in my career, which is really cool. But then also just, um, I'll see friends and stuff that I've made uh, get really stuck in staying in one place.
Mm.
And I think if you don't grow up moving around all over the place and not having a fear of, I can go to school that I know nobody at, I've never stepped foot in Utah before, but I'm just going to ball with it. I think it'll be cool. I think that's a huge blessing, kind of having that fearlessness, or just knowing that I can show up and I can figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think if you've lived in the same house your entire life and all your family's in the same place, like I understand that being hard to leave. Um, but also there's so much to explore. So I think it's good to leave, and try new things. And maybe you end up back where you're from or whatever. But yeah, I think especially as you're young, take advantage of the opportunity to spread your wings and really find what you like.
Yeah. So it seems like you're finding what you like.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been a pretty wild road since I started with triathlon, and um, I think, like I said earlier, every year has been a little bit different, but
Mm-hmm.
constantly trying to refine what I do, refine my environment, and really kind of solidify what works for me and what I really like. But at the same time, too, being open to new opportunities and new adventures.
Hmm. So I'll come back. I want to ask you some questions in a minute about your siblings. So keep some of that stuff on tap. But with
Yeah,
the concept of starting something new, it's exciting. You're young. There's a lot of new experiences. So there's a lot of these kind of new highs or like eureka type of moments, like, oh, I didn't know it could be like this or whatever. So I think that it really does, especially as we are younger, having those first experiences, it causes our emotions to be like kind of a bit rocky. So you have had enough experience now, traveled enough, for a number of years, I think, to kind of reach some level of baseline. But do you notice that in yourself that you're a little more stoic in the way that you approach things, or are you still
Yeah.
pretty, yeah?
Yeah, I think it's I work with a sports psychologist pretty closely, and I've worked with him for uh gosh, honestly, probably about 3 years, like pretty close to when I started the sport.
Mm,
Um and I think a bit of my personality is always just fairly even keeled. But I think in working with him too, we've done a lot in recognizing um, how big a deal energy conservation is. And so if you're always, if you're really riding that roller coaster of emotions, it can be hard to conserve energy for when you need to have it conserved, I guess.
yeah.
I think in moments where celebration is allowed, it's good to celebrate. I can probably fall into the trap of just kind of on to the next, or always finding little flaws with things. But I think in moments of celebration, it's good to celebrate. If you're on the podium, you never know when you're going to be back on the podium. That stuff's not guaranteed, and those moments
Mm,
are really cool. So cherish those. And in the lows as well, you got to be able to know how to trust the team around you. And the work that you've done and the work that you're doing to kind of pull you out of those lows,
mm,
and just kind of back yourself. And that just being able to stay pretty even keeled, I think is how you kind of show up consistently every day, uh, ready to go, whether you have a lot of motivation to do your workouts, do the race, or, whether you don't have a lot of motivation. Um, you show up and get it done. So,
yeah. Mm. A lot of good wisdom there, and it sounds like you're definitely learning a lot. I'm intrigued, I guess, is the phrase I want to use for the concept of, um, you said having a good team around you to pull you up. That alludes to the fact that you know how to ask for help. So that's obviously a big piece of, I think, getting anywhere is believing and understanding where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. So for you, who are kind of the key people that sit in that place to be able to speak truth into your life when maybe you're hard to speak truth to?
yeah, I would say I keep my team pretty small. I think if you ask most people, I'm fairly introverted, and um, I like my team's small, but I have a lot of trust and faith in them. And I know they're not going to sugarcoat things when that's not appropriate. And so like my sports psychologist he's a huge person on my team, Dr. Corey Rich. I've worked with him for a really long time. And even as I've moved coaches, continued to work with him. And then Ryan Bolton's kind of the head of everything, team boss. Um, and he's been great. I've been working with him since kind of end of 2023, start of 2024, so for about a year and a half. And that's been great. I think we're super similar personality wise, which makes things really easy. And both realists. Yeah, we just get along really well together, and there's a lot of faith and trust in that relationship, which is I think exactly what you need in a coach athlete relationship. Um, And then yeah, I mean my family's great. I love all of them, and I have a couple really close friends. I think Dar Smith.
Yeah.
He's probably like my best friend in the triathlete sphere, I would say, and we do a lot of training together. And uh, he's just a great guy to have in my corner. I think we're pretty different personality wise, which honestly is pretty cool because I think sometimes I can kind of help rein him in if he's getting a little crazy, and then he can pull me out of my shell a little bit, which is pretty
Mm,
fun. Um, and then we've also just had similar. I think my parents are like almost identical to his, which is pretty cool. So I think we've grown up fairly similarly, and uh,
yeah.
yeah, I enjoy spending time with him.
Right on. That's awesome. Yeah, Dar's a super cool guy. I was actually going through all today and last night, downloading every single transcript from every episode. So I was kind of doing a little mental retake of like, oh man, I
Wow.
forgot I had this person on. Yeah, I'm working on a project trying to like condense everything into like seeing what are the things I've learned. But anyway, I went through and I saw Dar and I was like, oh, I need to get him on again. So I'll definitely reach out to him again. He's such a good guy. And there's so many
Yeah.
cool people. Maybe it'd
Yeah.
be fun to have you both on at the same time or something. But
That would be cool.
so yeah. So for you and Dar, being friends and you having the relationships that you have with Ryan Bolton and Corey Rich, like to kind of support who you are, have you always been in a mindset to where you would seek to put people like those around you to help guide and direct you? Or were you more self-sufficient as a younger kid? Did you change?
Mm, that's a good question. I think growing up in the family that I did, I've always been fairly independent, and kind of able to work things out. While at the same time, I've always had like uh, you move around so much. Yeah, I have six siblings, and so it's always you move around, but you still have your band of brothers. So you always, I've always had people to lean on if I need to, as well as my parents are awesome, and I'm super appreciative of the way they raised me, I guess, where uh, they never felt overbearing by any stretch of the means, but allowed you to make mistakes, and then we're there for you when you made mistakes, so you really felt like um, you could trust them and come to them when you made mistakes, which I think was really great growing up.
Hmm.
Because I mean, evidently every kid is going to make mistakes, and every young adult's going to make mistakes. So being able to go to them and be like, I screwed up, and just to receive love back and okay, you screwed up. How are we gonna move forward from this?
Yeah.
Has been great, and I think they just taught me from a young age that you don't need to have 100 acquaintances. Having three or four really good friends is good, and I think that's exactly what kind of my personality type needs. I guess I think some people need more people, and they get a lot of energy from that. And me, uh, I have a couple people I could spend 24/7 with, um, and I
Yep.
really like that. And then most other people, it's like, I think I can get kind of worn out uh, from too much socialization, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So let me ask you these two questions. First, I want to hear from your perspective. What are the elements that make a good friend? Like some of those key values that you really value. Yeah, to use the same word twice. And then, have you ever had to remove yourself from a friend group or remove a friend out of your friend zone because it was just you realized these values are not gonna work for me, or there's like a falling out or something?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think what makes a good friend, you just there's a level of trust. Um, they're gonna have your back through thick and thin. Which is cliche to say, I guess, but I think it's real. I think you go through a lot of friendships that when things get a little rocky, you see the true colors, and it's like, oh, it's not really how I thought you were gonna respond.
Hmm.
Um, uh, so yeah, I think trust is the biggest thing, and I'm trying to think what else. I don't know. I think that's a major one. And then I think it's just finding personality types that kind of blend with you, good energy to be around, I guess, people that lift you up and ideally you can help lift them up as well. And it's just an all ships rise. Um, uh, yeah. And then I think ones that can really help keep you accountable.
Hmm. That's a really good one.
Be that spiritually, be that physically, whatever. And once again, Dar's been great for that, where, uh, yeah, we just have similar backgrounds and similar goals. And, uh, yeah, it's cool. And I don't think you run into a lot of people, like that have a motivation to keep each other accountable. And so I think when you do find friends like that, it's really cool. And it's like, oh, you know, I'll work for that friendship.
Yeah.
Um, and then in terms of removing myself or removing other people, I don't think I've ever really removed someone from a friend group. Uh, I would definitely say I've probably distanced myself from people or from friend groups. I've been really blessed, especially in high school. I had a great friend group with uh, just yeah. I think there was six of us, and it was just a really core group, and uh, everybody was super motivated, super smart academically and athletically, and uh, just not a whole lot of. I mean, we had a lot of fun, but not bad fun, I guess.
Hmm.
And so everybody was focused, and that was really cool, and I think that's super unique. Um, and then it's been, I think, a little different once I started college and triathlon and stuff. Really trying to find that group while also, um, I'm not someone I don't really like to force friendships or really try and make something happen. You know, if it happens naturally, that's great, and if it doesn't, that's okay too. Um, Yeah, I would say, and I think especially just moving around so much, I've learned to be patient with friendships. Sometimes they
Mm.
come around and sometimes they don't. And sometimes you have periods of loneliness and that's okay. And then sometimes you have periods of overstimulation because you're around so many people all the time. And, you know, and it's just once again back to that energy conservation. You just kind of try and ride an even keel and enjoy the moments that you're in because they won't last forever, you
Mm.
know? So,
Because you said, thank you for answering that in such a good way. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good things that you said there, and I could probably pick them all apart and kind of have you dive deeper. But one area that I think that this is kind of going into that I'd really love to ask about is with the movement that your life is taking right now. You know, you're 23, you're going to be 24 soon. A lot more prominence in the sport. You're starting to be noticed in different ways. You know, obviously you have your goals set for a while, and you have always been the same internally for all intents and purposes. Like your personality can change and you can mature, sure. But now that people are starting to take more notice in who you are and what you're capable of and what they kind of quote unquote expect you in the future, how has that affected you? Like, do you find that it has been a source of motivation? Do you find that you're just kind of stoic about it and you don't care, or is it something you dislike? Like, what do you think about that stuff?
um, yeah, I think it's good momentum. It's cool to be recognized, I guess, a little bit more for some of the achievements that I've had. And I appreciate it. You know, it's my hard work kind of coming to fruition and my team's hard work coming to fruition. So, uh, yeah, at the moment, taking it with swing, you know, lots of cool or more opportunities, more doors opened, you know, hopefully set me up, uh, for a longer career, or a more successful career. You know, so I think it's all positive momentum and you can't get too caught up into it. But at the same time, too, if you can ride some positive momentum, might as well. You know, and that's another great thing about having the team around me that I do have, where you know, I think if I start to feel a little weight of expectation from other people that you know is completely out of my control, you know, I have people in my corner that are like, "It's out of your control, dude. Chill out.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be all right." Um, you know, and I think hopefully opportunities continue to present themselves, and then it's just continuing to bring the right people into my team to kind of help manage and mitigate as things take more time. You know, bringing people in to deload some of that work, so I can you know stay focused on just training and racing, which is all that I really want to do. But
Yeah. Mm. So who do you say that John is? Like, who is John to you?
ooh, oh man, I don't really know. Um, there's a lot, I think. That's tough. My dad always talks about human being versus human doing. So I
Mm.
think it would be easy for me to go, oh yeah, triathlete, blah, list what I do, I guess. But just as a human being, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can really answer that one. Yeah, I think I do a lot. There's a lot of adjectives or whatever I could tag onto my name, but um, just someone who likes adventure,
S-
who wants to
So
be
let,
really good. Uh, yeah.
let me ask you this. So are you single right now?
No,
You're not. Okay.
no.
So your significant other. Let's go back to like the first time you guys met. Obviously, triathlon was part of it, I would assume. But whenever, if you were had the opportunity to go back to meet her for the very first time, and you look her in the eyes, you're like, and you know you're going to be dating soon, so you know some of the things that she probably likes about you. What are some of the things that you would say, like, "Hey, I'm John, and I like you because," or like,
Yeah, yeah.
what would you share about yourself? What makes you a good person to
Oh.
be in a relationship with? We're getting deep now.
I know these are hard questions. These are not stupid questions. Um, oh, man, I don't know. I think I'm someone who cares a lot. Uh, I think I'd say I have a pretty big heart, and uh, yeah, I don't know, a pretty big heart, as well as, I would say I'm careful with how I give that out, I guess. Once again, going back to that energy conservation thing, it's just
Mm,
um, I'm aware there are some people, and I've been around people that it just feels like they just kind of take energy from you, and that can be really challenging. And I look for that kind of symbiotic take and give, which isn't always, it's not always going to be a perfect 50-50 type of thing in any relationship. And I
mm,
totally understand that. At the same time too, though, I'm just careful with how I spend that energy.
mm,
Especially because I'm aware of the job that I do and the energy that I put into it. I think outside of that, I only have so much to give. But
mm.
um, yeah, I think really caring. I think I'm adventurous and crave to be a risk taker in a non-risk taker's body or brain, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I want to go do crazy things. Sometimes I think I can be a little bit timid in that. Yeah, at the same time though too, I think uh, I'm pretty disciplined in what I do, and um, yeah, and just kind of get enjoyment out of, I guess, the discipline and that kind of monk lifestyle I live. Which, yeah, I don't know if that
Yeah.
answers any of the questions, but
No, it really does. And I want to, for what it's worth, I want to affirm some of it because, I ask this question to a lot of people, and it's always interesting to see how people respond. And I don't want to stereotype too much, but usually when I ask that question to the younger guests, I'm talking 20s to late 20s, usually there's not a level of self-awareness enough and a belief in oneself to be able to kind of call some of those things out. So the ones that you said really that I think you truly believe is like that you care, you have a big heart, and then you're kind of alluding to this fact of being a little more stoic, calculated, like you want to take risks, but you're still pretty calculated about taking them. And I think it's really important to be able to say that because anyone can say what they do. I really like what your dad said. That's really powerful. Human being rather than human doing, because so often we can tie our identity to what we do, and it is a piece of it to a degree, but we can over attach, I feel like, and then when that season change comes, it's like it can
totally,
be very difficult to figure out like who am I at my core value. But it's so cool to see you have a belief in yourself, like just to say the simple but very meaningful thing that like you have a big heart and you care, um, and you believe that about yourself. Because a lot of people, they'll be like, usually whenever someone affirms someone, they're like, oh no, like and we kind of shun it off our shoulders. But I think there's importance in being able to like take that and be like, yeah, thank you so much, and believing that about yourself, because then that enables you to kind of overflow, I think, some of those values to other people. So
Yeah.
without talking too much, I think you did really good. Thanks for
Yeah,
answering
thanks.
that question. I think that was really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who do you think that you're more like, your mom or your dad?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Um, I would probably say I'm more like my mom
Yeah,
a little bit. I think. Yeah. Yeah. I would say I'm a good. I would also though say I'm a pretty good a mix between the two. Um,
sure.
I think my mom's probably a little quieter. Um, uh, yeah, maybe a bit more stoic.
Yeah,
Um, which I think I resonate pretty well with. Um, yeah.
yeah. Do you feel that your mom and dad, and then I'll quit harping on all the family questions, but do you feel like that your mom and dad are proud of you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's been pretty fun the last two races that I've done. Those are so they watched the
Chicago.
first triathlon that I did in 2021. I did like the US does like EDRs, which is like a elite development race, so kind of where you can go get your license to race professionally.
Hmm.
And so they came to that, which was the first one I'd ever done. And then my mom came to Chicago, my dad came to Toronto, which was a couple weeks ago. And that was the first time, like they've watched me on Triathlon Live or whatever, but this is the first time that they've gotten to see in
Yeah.
person in a couple years. And the Super Tri stuff is really cool to get to be in person for. And to have two pretty good races. It was really cool and really fun to get to have them in the crowd. And probably something that I think a couple years ago would have stressed me out a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was wonderful to have them there, and that was really cool. And I mean, they we're pretty close, and they've been on this journey with me since college, and kind of deciding to really try and fully invest into this career and path. And I would say there's been a lot of moments where you're like, "Ooh, I hope I made the right decision in this."
Hmm.
Uh, but I've never felt, they've had so much faith in me. And I think too, it's like I could have had zero success in this, and I think they would have really respected the decision to go for it and to try and chase it. Um, and I know regardless of what I do, their love is endless, which is a wonderful thing to feel.
Yeah. Where are you at in the lineup, by the way? You said six kids. I'm guessing you're like number 4 or 5. Oh, you're two.
No, second, yeah,
Wow.
seven kids including me, six
Wow.
siblings.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah, it's
So,
nuts.
so being the second oldest, I mean, you got a lot of people who are looking up to you, maybe still. I mean, I would imagine there's still some of them are pretty young.
Yeah, yeah. My youngest sister, she is 10.
Wow.
Um, and then yeah, I have one brother in high school, one brother in middle school, a sister that just started college, a sister that's about to graduate college, and then my older brother. Um, yeah, I would say that, I think they look up to me. I hope I set a good example. I tried to set a good example. But at the same time too, I think I hope they have the courage to go set their own path. They don't have to do, and my parents are also great in that, where it's like nobody forced triathlon on me type of thing. No, and they don't force anything on on any of us, and they give us opportunities. And I think if we take advantage of those opportunities and we ourselves want to invest more into it, then they'll help invest more into that as well, which is really a privilege.
Hmm.
Um, but I hope that I've set a good example of what discipline and hard work looks like, and uh, kind of working through tough times to see a bit of fruit uh, start to grow. I hope they see that with whatever they end up doing, be it academics, athletics, a job. Yeah, I hope it sets a good example. And yeah, they're all good kids, so I know they'll do all right.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's really cool, man. Um, there are other questions that I could ask about the family, but I want to move on just a little bit with
Sure.
kind of that journey we were talking about where you decided, I guess you had an opportunity to do triathlon, you tried it, you started to like it, I would assume. Talk to me about when you internally started to figure out like, oh, like maybe this could be a future for me. Like what instilled that seed and then watered that seed enough to like step out and say, I'm going to do this full time.
Yeah, it was really, I was working with Wes Johnson at the time, who was based out of Salt Lake City, which is where I was going to school. Um, and before I met him, yeah, I had never done anything with triathlon. I swam in high school pretty competitively, but wasn't really good enough to go anywhere I wanted. And at the same time too, my goal was I wanted to be in the Navy, go do SEAL stuff or EOD or so I was at Utah doing Navy ROTC,
Okay, cool.
and reapplying to the Naval. Like I didn't get into the Naval Academy my first go around, and so I was reapplying and fully planning on just like that was what I wanted to do. So I fell into West because I was like, oh, I'm really bored. I'd like to work out with someone, or a group. I met him, and then yeah, we worked together for about a month. And he was like, "Oh, you should, sign up for this EDR." And I was probably just going straight to some half Ironmans or something, just like bucket list. Oh, this would be pretty cool to do, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and he was like, "Oh, you should race this." And I was really lucky because coming out of COVID, that race in Claremont was full. But then he had an athlete who was injured,
Hmm.
and he knew the race director, and so he was
Pull
able
some
to. I could
strings.
just yeah, and I could cut the wait list. Um, and so I did that, and that went pretty well. And then I ended up staying another week in Florida and raced. There was a pro race in Sarasota the next weekend. Uh, so I did that, and I was like, oh, that was really cool. Um,
So
and
you
then
were
yeah,
just
and then
born with a Ferrari engine under the hood. Is that what I'm understanding?
a lot of swimming,
Yeah.
a lot of swimming, and then I think I fell into triathlon, and I was like, oh, this is what kind of suits the engine a little bit more. I was never very fast in the pool, but then yeah, you make the events an hour or 2 hours longer, and it helps me out a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, and I mean, Wes just really had a lot of faith in me from the start, and I was like, all right, dude, pump the brakes.
Mm.
And that was really cool. At the same time too, starting to work with Corey a little bit here and there. Then I think it was instrumental in. And then I did a semester where like my whole freshman year was just COVID. Everything was online,
Yeah.
so it was really easy to start doing some of the triathlon stuff. Um, and then I started my third semester, so first semester of sophomore year, and it was more in person, and the ROTC stuff was more in person. And I was trying to do the triathlon stuff. And my dad was very big in because that summer I had debated. I was like, oh, maybe I stop with this ROTC thing and really just invest. And my dad was like, let's wait it out. You don't have any regrets. See what a semester's like. Commit to trying to do it all. And go from there. Don't make a decision not knowing. Maybe I could work it all.
Hmm.
Uh, and that semester was really hard.
Yeah, I
Um,
bet.
I'm glad that I did try to do it all. But at the same time too, I think my personality uh, doesn't like doing anything half-heartedly. And I worked hard and I did well in the things that I did, but it's like, oh, if I'm gonna do the Navy stuff, that's all that I want to do, and I just want to be full gas into that. Or same with the triathlon thing. And at the same time too, I heard back that when I reapplied to the Naval Academy, I still didn't get in.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, and so that was pretty disheartening. And going back to that, I don't like doing anything half-heartedly. ROTC is great for some people. I really wanted to just get the full experience and really go somewhere that would make me the best naval officer, which would be the Naval Academy. And I thought they would do a much better job than where I was at with ROTC. And so it was kind of like, oh, that stinks. Yeah, and then after that semester, I decided to pull out from that, which was hard because I had to. I mean, that was paying for school. You
Mm.
had a secure job afterwards. It was the Navy's. It's new, but it's known. It's what my dad. I've seen my dad do all of his life.
Yeah.
It's what my family knows. So that was pretty hard and nerve wracking. And then that first, and then since then, it's just been uh, slowly somehow investing more and more. I think every year, you know, I think I look and it's like, oh, I don't know what I could do to invest more, to give more into what I do, and then a couple months down the road, I'm like, oh, I was able to turn that dial just a little bit more. And, uh, whether it's with recovery or just anything, just figure out you're constantly refining, and it's just been 3 years of that, which has been really cool. Um, and so just, I think a continual process into investing more into the sport and, um, yeah, and it's been fun to start to see it kind of pay dividends.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for sharing that story. And I'm wondering if you have like complete peace and closure with the direction that your life took post Naval Academy. Because I heard a few times in there, like when you didn't get in, it sounds like a pretty difficult test to get in. You didn't get in. There was a level of probably for you, like I would imagine, well, dad did this and I find a lot of interest in it. So I want to make him proud through doing that and also prove to myself. So is that still like a kind of a question mark for you?
Yeah, and once again, a great thing about my dad is he never pushed that, and it was
Yeah.
never, oh, you need to go to the naval, super supportive and everything. The reapply I felt like was a pretty good stamp, or getting denied the second time was felt like a pretty good stamp on, uh,
This ain't it.
this isn't it. And it was really challenging because I think in that, Naval Academy, it's a whole package of things. It's not just you write an essay and shoot your test scores over. There's a lot that goes into it, and having a year of ROTC under your belt, there's a lot of like, I have no idea how I didn't get in
Mm.
all honesty. Um, I seriously do not know what I could have done more to get in. Uh, and so to not get in, it's like, okay, that's a clear sign, and I'll take that. And so I think that's really kind of helped settle some nerves. I think if I did get in and chose not to go, it might have been harder to not feel any kind of, oh man, that would be cool. And I have some of my best friends are they graduated last year. My best friend is in Coronado, who just graduated buds out of the Naval Academy. And so it's really cool seeing him do that. And at the
Yeah,
same
that's
time
cool.
too, it's a little hard where it's like, oh, in another life, that's exactly what I would want to be doing.
Mm.
But once again, I think doors open for him to go do that, and doors open for me to go do that. And it's always one of those things. I think he looks at what I get to do, and he's like, "That's crazy. That's really cool. I would love to be doing that rather than sitting in the cold Pacific Ocean freezing."
Yeah.
Um, and it's just one of those things. And so yeah, I don't know. I think after 2028, maybe I'll look back and I think that the door probably doesn't close till 2030 on military stuff if it's really something that I do want to do. But at the same time too, I don't think it is, and gotten very accustomed to my lifestyle and not
Mm-hmm.
getting yelled at, not getting told what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I really I like being a freelancer. So
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I've always thought like trying to do stuff like go to buds and trying to be a Navy SEAL or whatever you name the special forces guys. I wish that there was a way to go and just try to see if you could make it through the
yeah,
training. Like that's
yeah,
That would be such an amazing thing. I know that people have tried to do some stuff similar, but it's really not the same, I don't feel like, unless you're
No,
trying to get there and like this is the line. You either can make it
100%.
across or not. Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, it's cool. I mean, yeah, he shared a lot of stories from it, and I was like, "Oof, that is it's not fun.
Yeah.
Certainly not fun."
Yeah. Hmm.
But
Well, it's interesting. It'll be cool to see what transpires for you, because I do sense like a little bit of, you know, a little what if, but at the same time, your story is still developing in front of you, and it seems like
yeah,
that you are
exactly.
open to finding and taking the signs as you see them. So for those signs, I guess that hints a little bit towards this idea or principle belief of like a destiny, a higher power. Are you a religious person? Do you believe in those things?
Yeah, yeah. I've grown up like a non-denominational church family, I guess, my whole life.
Yeah.
And that's been a huge aspect of who I am, really. I guess that's more of a human being than a human doing. Uh, yeah, and I've carried that with me, and I think once again, credit to my parents, they instilled um, a great feeling of need for faith in my life. Without ever feeling like it was really forced upon me, and then just have been super blessed with great friends that um, share similar values and similar motivations. Um, which makes life a lot easier when you're walking with two or three other guys that are trying to walk that similar path. Yeah, and then it's just been great. I really feel called to where I'm at, and it was a tough thing, I think, walking through leaving a potential career in the Navy and doing this. It's feels like a pretty selfish move. Serving in the military is like a clear act of service in my
Mm-hmm.
mind.
Yeah.
And it feels really purposeful and it feels really guided towards giving back, which means a lot to me. And so to switch to professional triathlon, where it's like everything's, you have a team that revolves around you, and it's an individual sport, and all these things, and it's just can be very self-centered and self-focused, and at times it really needs to be in order to find that peak performance and to meet those goals. Um, while at the same time too, I feel really affirmed in this is where I've been led, and like I talked about, those doors closed, and it was like we're really close like this. It was
Yeah.
surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think you take that and put some faith into it, and God's called me to be here, and you know, I believe in that, so I find peace in that.
Yeah.
Which I think, yeah, really, really helps you live a bit freer.
Mm. Yeah, no, 100%. I get it. Yeah, for me, I can say similarly, the circumstantial communication that I get through open and closed doors is it always brings peace. Sometimes a little confusion, but I mean,
Yeah,
there's plenty of instances in the Bible, if like you do treat that as the word of God, where he says through stories and then sometimes even directly, um, the wisdom of man is foolishness to God, and vice versa. That's kind of how we
uh,
view it. So there's so many variables. I like to think of God as almost like a quantum computer in some ways, that he can see all circumstances at the
totally.
same time. And he gives us the ability, though, to make those decisions based on where some options are closed and some are open. But for you,
Yeah,
you know,
and you're never gonna understand it.
yeah,
God's
yeah,
beyond, and I'm okay not understanding it. But
there's
I'm gonna
peace
do
in
my
that.
best. I'm gonna do my best to listen, and uh, yeah, I trust his path, and I know. I think having faith in that gives peace too, to where I know if this were to end tomorrow, in a year or whatever, it's okay. I'm really appreciative of these adventures and these opportunities, and um, the places and the people he's put in front of me for the last couple of years.
Mm,
Um, and well, you know, if that path ends, he's going to open up another door for something else.
Yeah.
Which I think in the sport has been really key. I've seen a lot of people where this is their identity and this is their everything, which it's a lot to me. I think it would be hard to find people that really care more about it, I think, than me. But at the same time too, it's not my everything and it's not my identity. And I think you can show up to the start line a little bit freer, like I said, where you don't have a pressure on your shoulders that it's not the be all end all, at the
Yeah.
end of this race. And a lot of and that's it's the whole thing with triathlon racing. It's so dynamic and uncontrollable. All you can do is control your attitude, and give your best effort. And sometimes your best effort's going to get you 40th place, and sometimes it's going to get you first. And
Hmm.
you can't control what other people do. And so I think to have your identity wrapped up in this sport is hard.
Hmm.
So I'm glad that I don't.
Yeah. What do you have friends that you have met? I mean, obviously you do who are that way, but they see that problem and they're trying to change it, or do you see that most people are just kind of unaware of how consuming it can be?
That's a good question. I think that's a pretty deep question, and I would probably say I don't get that deep with too many people. I think a lot of interactions I have with peers and stuff are fairly surface level, just at races or before races.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's focused in trying to dial in. Yeah, and that's another thing. I feel really fortunate to have met Dar and to be good friends with him. Where, uh, he's also a believer and a strong believer, and so to have a brother in faith walking through life and walking through a very similar path, I think is really unique and really special. Um, so that's great. I think, but also I do think a lot of people are pretty unaware of, um, uh, I think how self-involved it can be and how consuming it can be. And I think that's just, um, you're trying to fill a void where faith belongs.
Mm.
Um, and I think you see that it doesn't have to be triathlon. It can be whatever. I think anybody that you have a you have a Jesus-sized hole in your heart, and if you're trying to fill it with stuff, it's never going to fill it. And I think that's just
It's a pretty big hole.
it's an impossible hole to fill,
Black
except for
hole.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And so I think whatever anybody ends up doing, they try and fill that hole with what they do. Be that triathlon or whatever, and that you want to fill that void, so I think you shove a lot into it, which can be consuming.
Mm. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And I was also going to ask you just one more piece of this faith question. You said you see God's communication to you and leading through circumstantial evidence. What other ways do you hear or see like God's communication to you in life?
Yeah, I think, I mean, a lot of it is just faith. I think I've been really blessed to have circumstantial, feel like I have circumstantial evidence that uh, God's given me, but that's never guaranteed. And sometimes you just kind of have to walk on that line, uh, walk out on that water and hope he's there to hold your hand through it. Um, and I think just once again, some of the people that I have around me, um, asking for prayers and discernment from them, um, has been a big thing, and just um, I think knowing that sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, you yourself can be really emotional about some of those decisions versus, a parent or a friend don't quite have that same emotional attachment
Mm-hmm.
or connection to whatever it is you're trying to discern. And And so being able to try and seek some wisdom from them or whatever I think is super valuable. Yeah, but just a lot of prayer.
Yeah. Mm, well said. So we've talked about how busy and crazy your life is, just in terms of travel and things like that. And sometimes, I'm kind of comparing this to my life a little bit, and not that it's the same, but whenever there's a lot of travel involved, it's like life just time goes by really fast, and I feel like it's passed me by faster than I can appreciate it in the moment. And then there's other times when things are slow and it's like time seems to drag, or it's very noticeably slow. So my question for you is, how are you experiencing life right now? Is it going by too fast, too slow, or steady? Like, how are you experiencing it?
Um, yeah, I would say at the moment it feels pretty quick. And I think I've been trying to brace myself for it to be really quick these next couple weeks. Um, and it's always, I enjoy getting into places like Santa Fe. My group and I did a week in Crested Butte, Colorado, which is probably my favorite place on earth. And
Mm.
um, just finding opportunities to stop and smell the roses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, uh, just to sit and be in nature, I think really helps me slow things down. And I'm fortunate I do a job where can go ride for a couple hours and be in really big nature, and that gives me a lot of peace and a lot of joy. Um, yeah, and I think it's always important to recognize where you're at in some of those. Oh man, I feel like life is going really slow, and okay, I'm gonna appreciate the slowness of life because there's beauty in that. And then sometimes, it's gonna be really fast, and I'm gonna appreciate uh, the speed at which things are coming at me at. So I think always trying to see it in a positive light. And once again, know there are going to be fast times, and you're going to wish for slow times, and then there are going to be slow times, and you're going to wish for
Yeah.
fast times. And that's just kind of how life works. So,
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Good way to put it. So the next area I'd love to poke in a little bit is the TTL Devo team. So I've been known Eric for long enough, and Paula a little bit too, to where I could kind of see when the inception of that came. And obviously, you're wearing a TTL hat, so shout out to them.
yeah,
But what's it been like being a part of that crew? And is it just this year or was it last year as well?
2.
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really fortunate for Eric shot me a text at the end of last year and was like, "Hey, you want to be on again?" And I was like, "Absolutely." Um, yeah, it's been really cool. They're awesome people, um, and they get it as well, and they've walked through it, which has been really cool to kind of have some mentors that, um, especially in the short course sphere too. Um, they're not just set on 70.3s and long stuff. I think that trajectory looks a little bit different. Um, so yeah, it's been really cool to get to learn from them and get some advice from them, as well as be a part of just an awesome community that I think resonates a lot with the things that I really like. I'm a fanboy of TTL before I got to represent them.
Yeah.
And I think Eric and I are pretty similar, and we can sit in nature all day and just really relish in it and find a lot
Mm-hmm.
of awe in that.
Yeah.
And we were inspired by it, which is really cool. And same with Paula. Um, and so, yeah, it's been really fun to be a part of that, as well as just to kind of see the team grow. I think it's been super cool. Um, yeah, I'm really excited. So I head to France tomorrow, and Paula races on Saturday, and then I race on Sunday. It's the triathlon mega weekend in
Yeah, it's gonna be
Fréjus,
sweet.
which will be really cool. And I don't get to link up with them in person too often, so it'd be pretty special.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot that they're doing the T100 slash the World Triathlon stuff, which I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's good for the sport because hopefully a lot more of the long course people, and I say long course, middle distance people know about short course. Because even me, like when I first got into the sport, I didn't know anything about super tri,
yeah,
WTS racing, the Olympic cycle, like all of that stuff.
yep. And neither neither did I. Um, Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential, and this will be a similar weekend to the grand final in Wollongong. Or I think they're doing a 200 there.
Or in,
Yeah,
they, yeah, it's in Australia.
yeah, they are
Yeah,
doing one.
yeah,
So I think these super weekends will be pretty cool, and I think a lot of opportunity for World Triathlon and T100 media to really try and expand the sport. I feel like that's what people are always talking about, and that's
yeah,
it's above my pay grade, but
yeah,
uh, cool to hope for.
yeah, for sure. So let me ask you kind of one final question, and I'll let you go. I'm sure you got stuff you got to do. And we'll probably like to have you on again in the future if you're down for it. I
Yeah,
feel like there's a
definitely.
lot we could definitely talk about. Um, but I want you to kind of remove yourself from yourself for a second and look, let's say, what is it, 25? Let's fast forward 4 years or 3.5 years, whatever, and we're just the Olympic cycle is ending. The Olympics are over. Let's pretend for a second that like you made it there. We don't know the result, but you're coming off of that Olympic high. What do you want to? What would you tell yourself in that moment? Do you think? What do you think would be helpful to know?
Um, I think just to be kind to myself. I think I haven't been to the Olympics, but I feel like that's the thing you most hear from other people is that they're just really hard on themselves after, unless you win gold. Then it's cool, and then it's a different, uh, and you're probably riding a different type of post Olympic blues. But I think just to be kind to myself to enjoy that. Um, these last 4 years have been an incredible body of work, and I've gotten, it's been an incredible adventure, regardless of the outcome, to have appreciation for that and to have respect for that body of work. Um, and to allow yourself to have some fun afterwards, to going out in the mountains, and you don't have to uh, be obsessed with being fit. To let yourself breathe a little bit after, I think would be important.
Yeah. Hmm. Good answer, man. Well, it's been an honor and a pleasure getting to know you a bit,
Yeah,
dive
it's been
into
a
your
blast.
life, and yeah, we'll definitely have to do it again. I'll message you here before too long, but I hope I can make that clip at the end and remember in a few years, assuming all continues to go as planned, and we can send that to you. That'd be cool.
Fingers crossed. Yes, sir.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you so much to John for coming on the pod, sharing from his heart and his experiences in triathlon, in life, in growing up, and in becoming a man of this space, and just figuring out what the next step is. Really awesome story, and looking forward to connecting with him and hopefully Dar Smith here pretty soon when they are getting ready for their grand final there over in France. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it happens, but thanks for being here, and we will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.